Great. I ask from you to please fill out the evaluation form, and please be totally honest. I'd love to hear from you and get your feedback, and also in order for you to receive your credit, I want to make sure that I have that evaluation form. By a show of hands, how many of you are board members? Wow, fantastic. Well, thank you for taking the time and the initiative to educate yourselves today. Okay, so being that you are community association managers and board of directors, you are the unsung heroes. You are here because you want to learn, and I really want to thank you once again for being here. You all are the ones that play an essential role in making sure that everything is great for your community. And it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of skills in order for you to efficiently run and manage your property. And I want to let you know that after 2 decades of managing, and I've been a writer for the Florida Community Association Journal. I started journaling many years ago, and I wanted to give back. And so here I am with this book, Common Sense Community Management. So today you're going to learn a little bit, it's an excerpt, a little bit about what's in the book. And I do have a lot to contribute, because I've got some funny stories for you, and I'm sure you all have your own, and I'm sure you could all write your own book someday. So we're going to start with the why. How many of you have heard of Simon Sinek? Okay, great. Thanks for coming. I'm a big fan of Simon, and I'll tell you why. Because the name of his book is Start With Why, right? And we all need to know why. What do we do? Why do we do it? How do we do it? Well, he talks about why we do what we do. And we all come to work every day. I mean, what really gets you out of bed? What makes you different as a board member? What makes you different as a CAM? And we all, I mean, every company has the same talent, but what makes them different when it comes to managing your property? What makes you different? What are you trying to do to enhance the lifestyle? Now, I'm a big fan of Apple. My husband is a big fan of Android, but I really feel that Apple has done a fantastic job in finding their why. And why? Because they are not just a computer company. They're not just a phone company. They are there to give you more than that. When you think of Apple, what do you think about? You think about the service that they provide. If you call Apple, if you go to an Apple store, you're going to get that one-on-one concierge type of service. I mean, what made Martin Luther King different? Basically, he led the civil rights movement, but there were so many people that wanted to do that, but he was a visionary. And this is all in Simon's book. He talks about the Wright brothers. Everyone wanted to see flight come to light. And what made them different? On December 19th, 1903, they beat everyone to it. So think about what inspires you. What is your why? The goal is to get people to believe in what you believe in, and you want to earn their confidence and their trust. And you want to hire people that believe in what you believe in. I'm sure you all have a culture on your property. And if you work for a management company has their company culture. How do you earn the trust and the confidence in getting others to believe what you believe? As board members, you want your residents to have the trust and confidence in you. So we're going to talk about how great leaders inspire action. If you're working to improve the operations, don't allow the emotional aspect and the drama to interfere with your professionalism. Think about what your purpose is. Think about what your goals are. We're in a new year. Everyone's thinking about New Year's resolutions. So let's talk about starting with the why. And in Simon's book, he talks about the golden circle. So what every property on the planet knows is what they do. Everybody knows that they're there to provide a service. But how do you do it? Some properties know how they do it. There are things that make them special. There are things that make them special that when there's a prospective buyer, they look at your property and say, oh, this property has a pickleball court. I think I want to buy here. Or maybe they have a great internet provider. But it's all about how you do it. So you want everyone to feel good about what you're doing as a board member and as a CAM. And again, why? What is your purpose? So the key part of your role is bringing others together, and you want to initiate goodwill, and when you can manage the politics, the rumors, and the chaos, you can keep a pulse on everybody. I know when I was a regional director, I was able to pull up to, say, a condominium, and the first impression was the valet, then the front desk. I was able to get a pulse on what the vibe was, and I was able to see whether or not there was going to be chaos when I was walking in. I could tell you whether I was walking into a mess, because most importantly, those employees, they either were focused on me. I would be like the secret shopper to find out if they were really doing what they were supposed to do. So finding good employees is a task within itself. And as managers, we are responsible not only to the residents, and as you as a board member, you're representing your constituents, you're also responsible to guests, you're responsible to realtors, contractors, your vendors. If you work for a management company, you're responsible to your management company as a manager. So Simon says we all know what we do, we all know how we do it, but we all need to know why we do it. So we tend to lose focus on our purpose, and we just go day to day doing the task, getting up. It's almost like the movie Groundhog Day, right? But when you collectively think about what you need to do as a team in collaborating with all of the departments and making sure that you're achieving the results and you have an understanding of what it takes to be a team, everyone works well, and then you can establish what you need to do every day. And the team consists of not just you, and it's never about you. It's about the board, it's about the staff, it's about the residents, the volunteers, the committee members, and as a manager, it's tough to juggle all of this. So delegating is something that is very difficult to do, but if you have a good team, then you're able to get the support that you need in order to achieve those goals. And understanding what your board wants and what the expectations are, and as a board member, communicating what the expectations are to your manager, it's all a team effort. So I like to use the acronym, together everyone achieves more. All right, we all want to provide great service, right? That's our purpose in making sure that the property's needs are met. So do you find that there's a need to increase staffing? Maybe as a new manager, I would always walk the property, I would assess and evaluate, I would do what was called a SWOT analysis, and identifying what were the strengths, what were the weaknesses, what were the opportunities, and what were the threats. And I would say, well, the building property, maybe it's just not up to speed. Do I need to work with my team and get them to where they need to be? Do I need to add a maintenance person? What is it that you need to do to make your property the best it can be? So how do you approach your board of directors if you feel as a CAM that you need to add additional staff? And the labor market's tough out there right now. Do you work with the people that you have? I say provide the facts, back it up, and talk about why you need that additional help. Is it due to that you're chasing leaks all day long, the building, the infrastructure in a high-rise is aging, the property in an HOA is aging? You want to make sure that you have the proper staffing. Perhaps you're in the middle of a major renovation project and your staff is getting pulled off the property, so they can't possibly deal with all the debris, all the situations on a daily basis, and attend to their routine maintenance. Are they chasing leaks in a high-rise? Are they with old rubber hoses? Where's Fred? Do you have old rubber hoses for your washing machines? Maybe it's time to do a major project and replace all those rubber hoses with steel braided hoses. Maybe the toilets are constantly running. Maybe we need to change out the valves and do a major project and do a plumbing inspection. So are your staff members running and chasing, attending to residents' complaints? Has the association been faced with any unforeseen issues? We're all being faced with some major expenses with all the new legislation. So talk about job descriptions. Make sure that your staff is performing at the highest level and you're giving them the tools that they need. If you need additional maintenance person, say you're in the middle of a situation where paint is peeling in the garage, but you don't want to hire anybody, so you say, okay, maintenance person, I'm going to pull you off, I want you to paint the garage. Now we see all the pipes are peeling. Well, is it really cost effective to take a maintenance person to do the painting? Maybe it isn't worth it. Maybe it's time to outsource. So go out and get those bids. Do a cost analysis and make the determination, does it pay for me maybe to just get a maintenance agreement with a paint company, or does it make sense to hire a dedicated painter full-time? Maybe there's other projects on the horizon. So think about what is going to be best for your property. Any questions? All right, let's keep moving on. Professionalism. The key part of your role as a manager and as a board member is bringing the community together. I talk about, in the word community, is unity. How can you bring unity to your property? Everyone has to work as a team, and everyone has to be focused on the same level of expectation in providing that lifestyle that the residents deserve. So we have to make every effort to have a clear understanding of managing the politics, the rumors, the behaviors that may interfere with the operations, and we know we have them. It's a known fact. Every property has their factions. I'm trying to be politically correct, but there is a group on every property that seems to just always be the biggest critic. And when you're a manager, it's just a known fact. You're going to have people in your face that are rude to you because you're the complaint department. And someone is going to be pushing your buttons. They're going to argue with you. They may have some unnecessary drama, and you really have to be patient with them and not get adversarial with them. Think about, maybe they're going through something in their life. Maybe they have a situation where they're having some health issues. Put yourself in their shoes. Show that you care. Think about what they're thinking and ask yourself, why are they behaving that way? Rumors, gossip, complaints should be looked upon as challenges, not problems. I used to tell my staff, we don't have problems, we have situations, and we're here to find solutions. So do your homework when you're presenting that solution or idea and recommendation, and support it with documentation and facts. You may want to gather the information from other associations, talk to other managers, talk to other boards, find out what they're doing, find out what they're dealing with. I'm sure there's someone that's dealt with the same situation that you have. Call your neighbors, call your experts, call your business partners. If it's, talk to your committee members to talk to their friends. If you're in a management company, you've got all the resources there. And unfortunately, not everyone is going to be happy. So if a lot of people say, hey, we used to do it this way and this is the way we've always done it. Well, that may not be the right way. Some people are reluctant to change, right? So basically what you're gonna have to do is convince others that, look, we wanna do this. Let's try it out. Let's have like a moratorium. Maybe for 6 months, we wanna decide we're gonna hire that full-time painter and see what what this person can do for us. Or maybe we want to get into a contract with a company to do the maintenance on the pools and the fountains, and we've done it in-house and we have a certified pool operator, but now it's gotten to the point where it's just too much for staff. So we're going to try it out and see how it works. And if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world, right? So maintain your professionalism and be patient is my advice. Managing chaos. How many of you in this room have chaos in your properties? Would you say it's on a daily basis? Okay. Yeah? Hourly? So when you're a manager and you're in the middle of a situation, how many of you are very calm about it and you maintain your composure? You take a deep breath, maybe take a walk. As much as you want to respond right away and you want to say what's on your mind, there's that professionalism again. You're in the driver's seat. I always say, you're driving this bus and you've got all these people on the bus and you don't want to crash, right? So your role as a manager is that you have to understand that there are going to be people that are going to disagree with you. There are people that are going to look at you like they're just going to judge you, and there's going to be chaos. Whenever you live in close proximity amongst others, there's going to be chaos. So as a manager, you're a referee, you're a mediator, you're a politician, you're a psychologist, you're a maintenance expert, you're a recruiter, you're a trainer, a supervisor, you're a coach. You're even an IT expert at times. You're a counselor, you're a rule enforcer, you're an accountant, a facilitator, a planner, and most importantly, you're the customer service specialist. So how do you manage the chaos? Well, don't think about whether or not you're going to be well liked, because your job is to enforce the rules. And most people don't like rules. Most people think they're above the law. And we live in such a diverse community. We have people from all over the world. And some people come from countries where they don't have to live by the rules. So I always say, when you find that there's a situation, gather all the facts. Your job is to control the negativity. Your job is to control the rumors. And talk to your staff. Your staff can be your best point of contact. I always tell my staff, if you hear a buzz that's going on out there, you better come to me and tell me what's going on. And if residents start chatting to you and asking you questions, you know nothing. Just go see Marcy. Because whatever they say, it's going to get out of context and it's going to come back and bite you in the you-know-what. So I find that every morning for the first 15 minutes, it's great to have what I would call the morning lineup. Every single day. I'd say to my staff, come, grab your coffee, all the supervisors of every single department, and this is what Ritz-Carlton does, and this is what has made Ritz-Carlton super successful. I talk about, what are we doing today? What contractors are going to be on the property today? Did we have any leaks? Do we have any situations the night before? Are there going to be any move-ins, any move-outs? Is the elevator going to be tied up? Talk to your staff every single day. They are your best support system. And I think that it's important for them to know that they're part of the team. Let them know that they are the support system. And when residents come to them and ask questions, they need to know that they should not be engaging with those residents. I always say it's great to have an open door policy, whether it be with your residents or with your staff. And when they know that you're there to listen and you're approachable, that's half the battle. Any questions before we move on to the next slide? Okay, so keep in mind why you do what you do every day. Believe in what you need to do to fulfill your purpose. We talked about, we all know what to do and how to do it. I tell my staff, if you're here for a paycheck and that's it, you're not part of my team. We are here to provide a service, and we are here to do much more than just a job. We are here to create a lifestyle. And there are some days where you wake up and you say, why am I doing this? What am I doing? And there's conflicts. And how do you manage conflicts? We're going to have to be committed to serving the needs of the residents, and we need to accept that residents are going to be angry. This occurs on a regular basis. Like I said, they have the right to be angry. They pay our salary, right? How many times have you heard that? So you want them to know that you have that open door and that they can come and take the time to visit with you, because it might just be a misconception. And I always say, I'd rather they come and see me than hide behind a keyboard. And if they do hide behind the keyboard and send me a nastygram, I pick up the phone and I call them and I say, I want to meet with you. This is something that I've done for 2 decades. I was always about the personal human factor, the human connection, because we can all see the body language. And sometimes they just want to vent. Sometimes they just need to get it off their chest and they want someone to listen to them. If there's a conflict between 2 residents, I do the same thing. If it gets so out of hand, that's when you start to think about, well, maybe I need to call Peter over at K-Bend or Rembaum, because sometimes there's situations that you can't mediate. I can tell you a situation where I had residents on a floor were complaining about other residents that were on that floor that were smoking marijuana. And this was back in the day when it wasn't as acceptable and there weren't any medical marijuana cards. So you get off the elevator and you could smell it. And then there were residents saying that the ductwork was causing their clothes to smell. So how do you deal with that conflict? And then they get on the elevator with each other and start screaming at each other. They were expressing their discontent, their frustration. And basically, I had to be the mediator. We tried everything. We tried putting deodorizers in the hallway. We ended up having to do something really special, and it was very costly. But at the end of the day, as far as the filters and the ductwork and everything, at the end of the day, I was able to uncover the root of the problem. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to find out what is the origin of the problem, because it's just going to escalate. And your job is to control it so it doesn't escalate, because everybody's emotional. Right away, everyone's going to react. But if you acknowledge that there's a situation, they're going to trust you that you're going to be able to take care of it, and you're going to make it right. And sometimes you have to be able to know just how to handle it. It may not be an instant gratification. You're gonna have to look into it, but as long as they know that you're looking into it, you're gonna gain their trust. So Bill Gates says your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. I've learned so much from those people that come to me as a manager and complain, because then I find it a challenge. I find like sometimes I have to do detective work and really try to find the solution. Any questions or comments before we move on about conflict resolution? Yes, sir.
So what was the source of the problem with weed smokers?
Well, first of all, they had a situation where there was a problem with the ductwork in the building. So we had to reroute everything so it wasn't going into the other units and going out into the hallway. And we had to also put under the doors the, what do you call those, in the threshold? Sweeps. Yes, thank you very much. Ten steps to diffuse angry residents. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because there's a lot of bullets for each one. And I pretty much covered some of this, but number one, show that you care. Always give your undivided full attention. When someone is complaining, I know sometimes you have, it's just a human behavior where sometimes you'll have a tendency to like tune them out. Or you just like roll your eyes, or you just kind of like don't, like your body language says everything. So you have to show that you care, and then if they're in your office, tell your if you're a manager, tell your assistant, I'm closing the door, shut down all the phone calls, and I'm sorry, but for the next like 15 to 30 minutes, I'm not going to be able to attend to anything. I don't want, if staff needs me, unless there's fire, flood, or blood, I have to give this person undivided attention. Offer them coffee, get them in your office, and have that chat. And show them that you really care. And be sincere, be passionate, and be empathetic. Like I said, always put yourself in the other person's shoes. And listen to their emotions. Yes, emotions run high in community associations. There's constantly people that are going to be complaining, and like we said, but as the manager, you have to learn how to listen. I know it's hard, and they could be saying things that you just want to interrupt them, and you just want to say, no, that's not true. But let them talk. Just listen. Sometimes they just need to vent. And be patient and respectful. Last year, I learned so much about being patient and respectful. My daughter lives in Bangkok, Thailand, and I got to travel there, and I learned so much. I thought I was patient and respectful. Those people really, I got a lesson in learning how to be much more patient and respectful. And I learned not to get on the defensive. And this was probably one of my weaknesses. Right away, I want to, like, if somebody's saying something about my staff member, right away I want to defend them. Right away I want to say, no, that's not true. But just let them say what they want to say, let them vent, and let them speak, let them express how they feel. And then don't get defensive, just restate what they're saying. Say, okay, I understand your frustration. Now, I understand this is what you're dealing with, and just own up on the problem. Just accept what they're saying. And then say, okay, now I'm going to look into it, I'm going to investigate it, I'm going to gather all the facts, and then I'll get back with you. And don't even give them a solution at that moment. Just let them know that you're going to take ownership of the problem, and you're going to take that time and just be respectful. Speak eloquently and professionally with a calm approach. Anytime somebody's screaming and they're loud and they're abusive and they're angry, that's not a conversation. I can't tell you how many times I've had people call me up on the phone and they start screaming at me for whatever reason, and I just say, can you please keep it down? I hear you. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. And this is not going to be a conversation if you're going to continue screaming. And just use that calm, soft tone. And then most likely they'll start to come down. I find that works a lot. So respond by restating the person's concern. Yes? If they're trespassing on a board member's property, I would call the police. Because there's nothing you as a manager can do to diffuse that. Especially if they're cursing and they're harassing and threatening, that warrants calling the police, absolutely.
So that's why the judgment was not to call the police, but she eventually was worked out towards the street and eventually left. However, in my association, in our rules and regulations, we have a nuisance rule, which I happen to have written. So so it has to do with any sort of harassment, verbal abuse, blah, blah, blah. So she meets the criteria. So my team has been struggling as to whether we should give her as a first warning or friendly warning.
I would definitely document that. I would definitely give them a warning so it's documented, because if it gets to the point where it needs to go to legal, you have the day, the time, and the situation. If you have security, I would have them make sure that they write a report.
Yeah, I documented it, but the team now is deciding whether they issue a violation of the nuisance reg. So the dilemma is, in a sense, they don't want to get her and then her associates or friends in the community even more pissed off by getting the violation. So yeah, so our community tends to back away from
Oh, but you have to document that. I mean, you may not want to send the violation, but you definitely need to document it or send them a warning, and just make it a soft letter for the first one, because it may get to the point where you need to call your attorney and have a cease and desist letter drafted. And then once it gets to, like, do you have a violation, like a hearing committee, a grievance committee? Okay, so then when they get to that committee and they have to, you go in front of their peers and give testimony as to why they shouldn't be fined, it's going to be rather embarrassing for them, right? And
we should address it rather than just saying, let it go, we don't want to get anybody even more upset. And, you know,
but then you're setting a precedent.
right.
And then there's what's called selective enforcement, and I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that if you don't follow through, I mean, your governing documents allow you to give someone a violation for being a nuisance. I mean, right now we live in a very hostile environment where people are not respectful, people are not patient. You're seeing people that emotions run high, you're seeing shootings in communities. It's just really gotten to the point where after the pandemic, it's gotten worse. So you really have to squash it. You have to do everything you can, and like I said, speak to your legal counsel if necessary. No, my pleasure. I'm happy to help. So respond by restating the person's concern. Again, confirm that you understand what the issue is, restate the facts, and let them know, I understand this can be frustrating. I understand where you're coming from. Even thank them for bringing it to your attention. Say, I appreciate you. This is great that I wasn't aware of this, and I'm going to look into it, and I'm going to get back with you. So we talked about own the problem. I can't tell you how many times I've had to offer an apology. And I know it's not always your fault, but essentially you have to accept responsibility for the problem. And I've had my staff screw up. Well, when they screw up, that means I've screwed up. And you never throw anybody under the bus, because as a team, if the Pittsburgh Steelers lose against the Bills, well, Mason Rudolph, it's his fault too, but it's also Mike Tomlin's, it's the whole entire team, and that means everybody's failed. So when it comes to, I always say when it comes to managing property, I like to use football as an example in analyzing things, because as the manager, you've got your players on the field. And they're trying to make touchdowns. And if they're not making those touchdowns and they're fumbling, that means that you need to change the plays. That means that there's something that you're not doing right, and ultimately it's always our fault, right? So I always say, oh, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, and I'm sorry you experienced this situation. I'll speak to my staff member, and then we all learn from that. And your staff, bring your staff member in individually. Don't bring them in front of the resident. I never do that. I always tell the resident, I will speak with that person, and then explain to them that this resident is angry. This resident's angry with you. Now they're angry with me. This is the situation. We need to find a solution. And I've already apologized on your behalf, but if you see this person, please let them know that you're very sorry and apologize. This is especially apparent if you work for a management company. The last thing you want is a resident calling the management company to complain. A lot of times, it might just be something that took place that is just a misunderstanding. Or there might be something that your employee did that it is by company policy, and that person may not like it. And sometimes you may, or if there is something that they did wrong that is against company policy, then you may have to get your HR department involved. All right, this one, number 7. I don't know how many times I've told my managers as a regional director, do not take it personally. It is not about you. The resident may not necessarily be angry at you. So ask the question, what does this person want from me? Why are they behaving this way? And you want to be able to acknowledge that that person is angry, and sometimes it's better not to respond right away, especially if there's personal attacks. And don't make any sly remarks or be sarcastic. So how many of you have seen this type of dialogue? You have a resident says, what's wrong with you? Every time I come here, I'm aggravated. You give me the runaround. If you knew what you were doing, this would not happen. And this is the last time you will do this to me. I pay your salary. How many of you have had residents talk to you that way? Yes. And then as a manager, you say, Mr. Jones, you sound upset about this. So again, you're acknowledging that this person is upset, and then the resident says, damn right, I'm upset. What are you gonna do about this? And then as a manager, you say, I need some information from you so I can help. Can you explain to me what aggravates you? What is it that's making you so frustrated? And just own the problem. Don't take it personal. Find the solution, fix the problem, explain what you can do to fix the problem, and determine who has the authority or obligation to assist in resolving this issue. Investigate, formulate, communicate, and implement the solution. You may need to rely on your experts. Monitor and evaluate the solution and demonstrate your confidence and attention to a problem-solving method. So act. Once you understand the root of the problem, Evaluate, be positive, and ask for feedback and act. Review your results, and this will avoid further complaints. Number 10, follow up, follow up, follow up. I can't tell you how much I used to tell my managers, please follow up. You may not have an answer. You've owned up the problem, but now the resident's waiting for an answer. So follow up with the resident, say, I don't have an answer, but I'm investigating, I'm looking into it, I reached out to so-and-so and so-and-so, and I will get back with you. Give them a timeline because they need to know that you're working on it. And send an email. As per our conversation, I am following up on this situation. If you follow these suggestions, it may be possible to turn your worst critics into your most ardent supporters. Owning your mistakes. So James Gordon says, I have made mistakes, but I have never made the mistake of claiming I have never made one. I used to say, I will fail, but I will never, if I make a mistake and I failed, I will never make that mistake again. So we all make mistakes. We learn from them. And as managers, sometimes we're perceived as incompetent. Sometimes we have to prove ourselves. And we don't want to do anything that's going to hinder our career development. And being a good manager entails continuous growth and increased knowledge, and that's why you all are here today. So let's move on. 6 common mistakes managers make. So I talked about not following up, not being accountable, jumping to conclusions. How many times have you had a resident come to you and they're complaining and you're just looking at them like, there's no way, and you're jumping to conclusion that it's something that they're saying, it's something totally different, and that this conflict is something that it's their problem. Well, you've got to take the emotion out of the equation, and you've got to do your investigation. You can't just take all these allegations and jump to conclusions. So I talk about SMART goals. And when you meet with your board, especially now, it's the beginning of the year, you want to establish your SMART goals. So you want to make sure that they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and time-bound. How many of you follow this type of plan when you're setting goals? Great. Because this is how you monitor your progress. And you want to be able to include these in your management report so your board is aware of what's pending, what have you been working on, and what is the status of these projects that you put on your wish list. I always like to sit with the board and do top 10 priorities for the year. We talk about in budget season what we're going to do and keeping everyone informed. So a lot of times you have some board members that they don't understand that there are certain things that we just can't do. We may not have the funds for it. So it's important that everyone educate one another on setting those clear expectations. And when we bring a group of diverse people together, like for instance, I'm on the board of my community for the last 20 years. I know, I'm crazy. Nobody else wants to do it. And there's people that want to get on the board, but we've had to educate them because they all want to build like a big gazebo, or they want to spend the money for all sorts of crazy things that we don't have the money for. And it's all about educating and understanding what we can and cannot do. So we've had to educate everyone on what our goals are and what the expectations are, and we get everyone involved by setting those SMART goals. And I think the most important thing is educating. And how do you do that? Communication, newsletters, websites, e-blasts. If you have a community channel, so important to make sure that everyone is on the same page and understanding what the goals are of the association. Because you're gonna have conflict, you're gonna have chaos, if everybody's got these crazy ideas of what they think should be included in the budget or being done in the community. Not taking the time for employees and recognizing their achievements. Well, when I managed in a high-rise, I used to sit and have lunch with my team members. They looked at me like I was crazy. I used to order lunch, and all around the room, I had motivational messages. I also had pictures of them recognizing their achievements. We would have gift cards, and we would do awards. We would have picnics, employee lunches, pizza parties. We would have family picnics. You have to nurture your people. You are a mentor. You're the mediator. You are the trusted resource for your employees. Retaining your employees. It's very costly to have to hire new people. So be there for them. Share in their successes. Let your board be a part of it. Invite them to an employee luncheon. Let them see that the board is recognizing their achievements and what the accomplishments are. I'm sure you can all agree that rewarding your employees and praise goes a long way. And also, they do like constructive criticism and guidance on how they can improve. How many of you have one-on-ones with your staff? Excellent. How many of you have weekly, regular meetings, staff meetings? Great, great, great to hear that. Okay, resistance to change. Okay, a new board comes in. All of a sudden, I mean, you're driving the bus and we're all on the same path. We're not crashing, but all of a sudden, new board comes in. Board says, we don't want you working on this. We want you working on that. So how do you get everyone on the same page? How do you get your employees to understand that now we have to change, we have to be flexible, we have to be able to adapt. We all have to have the same vision and mindset, and I would say sit down with your board and let them know this is what I've been working on, and if you want us to change, we'll do whatever you want. This is your home, and if this is what you want us to prioritize, we need to communicate this and all these changes and put them in writing and make sure that it's done at a board meeting so it's in the minutes. So everybody's on the same page. All right, so how many of you have experienced bullying in your association? I was featured in Common Ground for an article. They asked if they could reprint on bullying, and this is something that I tell you, I've learned a lot about, and I've had a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of feedback on it. And if you're having bullying in your community, disgruntled homeowners are really difficult to deal with, especially when they're harassing your staff, they're harassing board members, chastising you, wanting to pick a fight. There's all different types of bullying. There's verbal abuse, there's cyberbullying, there's gesture bullying. And this can interfere with an employee's performance. You could actually lose an employee over this. I had a manager that asked for a transfer because of the bullying, and it has very strong effects on the entire team. So what's the best way to address the bully? I say talk with them privately, one-on-one, and have a witness there. And you don't want to criticize them as a person. You want to criticize their behavior and not them as a person. Discuss and stick to the facts of what is going on. And again, document, document, document. Every time there's a situation, make sure that you have it documented. And try not to get emotional and ask, why are you attacking and belittling my employee or my board member, whoever it may be? Why are you attacking me? Always have a witness there. And explain that the board, the residents, and management, we are all on the same team. So why is this conflict occurring? Review your governing documents and Go to your HR, see what HR policies are in place if you have an HR department, and look at all the state laws that govern your association. Seek legal counsel. Like with this situation in the back, do whatever you have to do. If you have to call the police at the time of the bullying. If the bully is an employee, speak with that employee, document the conversation, do a write-up, and make sure that they understand that this is unacceptable. Always have a witness there to support you. So, education, the rights and responsibilities for better communities, principles for homeowners and community leaders. You can find this online. The Community Associations Institute has this. I highly recommend that you give this out to your residents at the orientation so they all understand what their rights and responsibilities are. Educate them on what it's like. Some of them never lived in an HOA condo before. So they don't understand the whole dynamic and the whole organizational structure. Even your employees. I had an employee that a potential candidate that I interviewed, and he said, so all these people are, they come and go and they just rent out the apartments? And I said, no, they actually own the apartments. They have the right to rent them out. They didn't understand the whole dynamic and the organizational structure of an HOA condo. So, I'm going to open it up to Q&A, and I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity. This is a scaled down version of the class. I mean, there's a lot more that I usually talk about, but since we're, limited on time, I think it's great that we're going to have this Q&A. On behalf of Hotwire, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do this. And I'll open it up to questions and answers. Okay, anybody have any questions? No questions? I know you're all hungry, right? So how many of you are getting ready to do projects? Okay, so, I find that when you're getting ready to do projects is something that I didn't get to cover, but because of the climate now, most important, talk to your board, make sure that you have a timeline of when the project is going to commence, and communicate to all the residents so they know that you may have to shut down the pool area, or maybe there's an elevator that's going to be down, maybe you're doing an elevator modernization. Just every step of the way, let them know what's going on. Be transparent. Communicate with them everything that's going on the property, and give them advance notice. And offer them the opportunity to meet with you if they have any questions. I can tell you during hurricane season, there were a lot of residents that they used to come and complain, because especially on those oceanfront properties where you're in an evacuation zone, emotions run high during that time, and that's when I get the most complaints, because we'd have to shut everything down, and some of these people had never lived in an HOA or condo, and basically I'd give them the hurricane preparation packet, but once it's getting closer, that's scary, especially for a senior. So make sure you communicate to them and try to do everything you can to control the property and the people and the politics. That's a great question, Lisa.
The efficiency of what can be and alleviate a lot of the stressors that they've had for years. But
So the old mindset is we've always done it this way, and I can tell you I was big on technology. I was a customer of Hotwires, and here I am working for Hotwire, and it was a tough sell to convince my associations to go with the latest and greatest technology, because they didn't want to spend the money. And when it came down to it, I even had associations that were still doing paper checks. How many of you are still doing paper checks? Oh my goodness. Well, it's like, oh, we've always done it this way. If you could prove to them and do a cost analysis, especially with these residents that are living in other countries half the year, and you want to make your vendors happy. You want your business partners to get paid on time. So there's all kinds of software out there that can help improve efficiency. There's all kinds of access control. There's all kinds of security cameras with the latest and I can't tell you how many of my associations had analog cameras, and until there was an incident, they're like, oh my, we should have listened to Marcy. Why didn't we go with the digital cameras? We can't recognize who's on this camera that's from like the 1980s. So that's a great question. And until something happens, then it's like all of a sudden an emergency and the alarm ding, 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 ding goes off. So if you can approach it where you do a cost analysis, talk to your neighbors, talk to your other constituents, talk to your professionals, and they can help guide you on why you need this technology. I can tell you that being a board member in my community, we were the first to get a virtual guard system, I'd say 15 years ago. People looked at us like we were crazy. They're like, what do you mean you're gonna have like a virtual guard? You're not gonna have a live person in the guardhouse? My guests are gonna be talking to somebody that's in some other state? I can't tell you how wonderful it's been to have that technology. And then every other HOA, they copied us. They're like, and we were like the showcase property. Yes.
Is that something that Hotwire does under their umbrella?
No, we provide the internet, and because we have been rated the fastest ISP, which is Internet Service Provider by PC Magazine and Netflix, we're able to handle it, where some are not able to handle it. With the fiber optics infrastructure, we can work alongside of the virtual guard system business partner.
So there's nothing that Hotwire themselves, they partner with other companies?
We work with them. Oh, okay, so the question is, does Hotwire provide a virtual guard system? No, we provide the internet so that we can help you support it. We also provide the phone system. We can port over your existing phone numbers so that you're able to have, you don't have to make any changes. Any other questions?